Has anything changed in the past 10 years for you as a player in the league? What's the biggest difference?
Yeah, I think a lot of things have changed. Certainly, I think as you mature and you get a little bit older, you learn more about yourself as a player. You learn more about what makes you better and, how to prepare better for games, how to take care of your body off the field, all that stuff. All that stuff plays into it. And I've definitely gathered a lot of information over my past couple of years.
So you've matured. You have matured.
I would say so.
Yeah?
My fiance would probably disagree with you on that.
They tend to.
But I think I have. I have grown up a lot. I think I've learned a lot from the teammates that I've had. I've had a couple different coaches who have all helped me and helped me grow as a player. I still think I have a lot of learning and growing to do, but at this point in my career, I'm certainly happy with where I'm at. But I still think I have more to give.
You're former DC player, which I forget, but being DC 2 years in a row, that was a big monkey in the back for this team for 2 decades, and now you beat them in the playoffs 2 years in a row. So that's got to be a good feeling, right?
Yeah, of course. Anytime you beat DC, it's a good feeling. Obviously, beating them in the playoffs, I think that makes it extra special. They're a good team. They're our biggest rival in MLS.
Even NYC, but you still think DC is the biggest.
The DC game for me is always going to mean a lot, and for me and the fans, I know it means a lot to them. So I'm not going to say it's certainly our most storied rivalry, certainly the oldest rivalry. As far as importance goes, I'd say DC is still the most important one, but NYCFC, obviously, for obvious reasons, the proximity to, where we are and the bragging rights and all that stuff, I'd say they're both very important, but every time you step on the field against DC United, it's always a fight and it's always a battle. And so beating them the past couple years in the playoffs has been something that I think we're all really proud of, but that's only the first step.
Dax, just in terms of the success that you've had here, and a tremendous amount of regular season success, and made some sustained playoff runs. But when the conversation is about MLS Cup, are there things that you think the team has learned, that you've learned, that you can incorporate into what comes down to just winning one game, or is that really just a question of preparing over a full season to be as good as you possibly can?
Yeah, I think it's not just with this team, but with previous teams that I've been on, just the experiences you learn throughout the regular season. It's not easy, and I've been in the league 10 years now, and I've only made it to MLS Cup one time. So you can't really take those moments for granted. I mean, it's really tough to get there, and you hear all the cliches, you hear all the talk about, it's just the regular season's important, and then the playoffs, it's all about getting hot at the right time. Those are all very true, but I think for me, the one thing I've learned is that the playoffs is just a completely different animal. Teams have a heightened sense of, they have a heightened sense of what they need to do to be successful, and teams are extra prepared tactically. Usually you have their best players available. It's been a long season, so all the teams are feeling the grind of a long season, but it's just a dogfight. And I think for us, the failures that we've had in the past in the playoffs have helped us gain a little bit more perspective and gain a little bit more confidence, knowing that we've been there and we have that experience of failing. So now, what can we do to change that? And I think that that experience will only help us in the future.
And just to that end, do you define your success as winning MLS Cup reporting?
I do. Absolutely. I mean, I'm not satisfied. I've been happy with some of the successes that we've had here as a team the past couple of seasons, but every time we end a season, I'm always upset and I'm always frustrated. And I don't look at the whole season as a failure, but I certainly look at the end of the season as a failure when we don't lift MLS Cup. I think there's only one team that's going to be happy at the end of every year, and that's certainly the team that lifts the trophy. But to me, you can't just look at MLS Cup as the end-all, be-all. Obviously, that's very important, and every team says at the beginning of the year, our goal is to win MLS Cup, so ours is the same, always. But you have to look at it as a whole. Did we qualify for CONCACAF Champions League? Yes. We did win a trophy in the Supporter Shield. Yes. Did we integrate a lot of new faces? Yes. Did we bring in a lot of academy players, and how well have they done? So it's just a whole question of, if you want to determine and look at the season as a success as a whole, I'd say last year you can definitely do that. But for me personally, I'm always going to be upset when we don't end the year with MLS Cup.
With that in mind, how much are you pleased with that? There's not been an upheaval in the roster. That there's a whole bunch of people that are back from last year, and you can go back at it after another go.
Yeah, it's important. I think every time you talk about New York Red Bulls, you talk about roster turnover and coaching changes and upheaval and all kinds of stuff. And I think there's always kind of been, a lot of uncertainty for a lot of people going into the offseason here. But I think the new regime has come in and they want to change things. They want to make things a lot more, a solid foundation for the future. And so a big focus for them was bringing a lot of the players back that after, we had a very successful season. I think one more year together will certainly only make us stronger. So a big emphasis was to have that continuity and to have that familiarity coming into the season. And then we need to tweak one or two things. Certainly we're not a finished product by any means, but I think the foundation is here for a sustained run at success here at this club.
And you got to like that idea because you guys get another chance of going back at it again, and you had some success last year.
Yeah, every time a new season comes upon us, there's a heightened sense of optimism, kind of a refreshed sense of optimism here because, preseason was great. I think Jesse and the coaching staff are just getting, they're only getting started and they're only getting better. So for me, it's important that all the new guys come in and they learn the system quickly. It's not an easy system to come in and play, but I think with the leaders that we have, the veteran leadership that we have, it's easy for new guys to come in and integrate quickly. So it's going to be a very important year for us. I think we're always trying to set the bar higher. And so for us this year, we obviously want to defend our title and we want to keep the Supporter Shield, but we want to add trophies. The U.S. Open Cup is a huge focus for us. Finishing first in our group in CONCACAF Champions League is a huge focus for us, and it should go without saying that MLS Cup is our main focus and our main goal, but we're going to just take the season as it comes. We're not going to try to get too far ahead of ourselves.
DAX, given the way the season ended last year, well, actually, when the game was over that evening, you were a little lamented that the team maybe was a little bit had one more playing.
Yep.
I asked this to Jesse today. How do you feel you've addressed some of that? Or?
Yeah, 100%. I think that this preseason has been fantastic. I think this preseason has given us another dimension, and I think while we're not going to blow everything up and change our formation because we failed in one playoff series, I think we needed a little bit more sophistication to the way that we played, and I think Jesse, he puts it in a good way. We're not going to change everything tactically, but we do need to have flexibility. And so I think what I said after last year was that it just felt like we were a little bit too predictable in the way that we played. Teams knew how we were going to play. We were going to high press them. We were going to play with one striker. We were going to swarm in the midfield and be really tough to play against. But we didn't have a different way of attacking teams. And so I think we've been experimenting more with two strikers, and I think that's very important because it gives Brad someone up top to play off of. Takes a little bit of the stress off him to just be the single guy up there, making runs and trying to carry the load for us. So I think our team in preseason has proven that we can play in a couple different ways, and I think that's going to benefit us in the future.
So you feel like you're well set up going into the season then, as far as that?
Yeah, I feel like we're very well set up going into the season. We have a much deeper team than we have in the past. I know there's going to be a lot more squad rotation this year. You're going to see a lot of players get a lot more minutes. I think it was tough for the starting. I think it's really tough for the guys that played heavy minutes last year because at the end of the season, it seemed like there was a little bit of fatigue that crept in. So we're going to have to rotate, and we're going to have to keep guys fresh. We're in a lot of competitions this year. And so, having that tactical flexibility and being able to use a bunch of different players and a bunch of different formations is going to be important.